And out of the midst of it there was the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was how they looked. They had the likeness of earthling man, and each one had 4 faces, and each one of them 4 wings. And their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of the foot of a calf.
Their soul was like the foot of a calf.
They would go each one straight forward. And as for the likeness of their faces, the 4 of them had a man's face, with a lion's face to the right, and the 4 of them had a bull's face on the left. The 4 of them also had an eagle's face. That is the way their faces were.
So like I said, the 4 archangels are actually the 4 archangels, or the 4 L's, the crossroads, the cross that separates the zodiac wheel. And I'll prove this even further using the Bible and the cherubim that were known as the Ang of L's, or the angels.
Had a man's face, with a lion's face to the right, and the 4 of them had a bull's face on the left. The 4 of them also had an eagle's face.
So let me explain why we have the tetramorph of the 4 cherub. You see, these are the 4 symbolic creatures of the 4 cardinal directions, north, east, west, and south, or the 4 houses of the cross of the zodiac. That's why we have the house of Leo, the house of Taurus, the bull, and the house of Scorpio, which is actually the eagle, and the human head represents Aquarius, the man with the pitcher of water. So the sun is going to the underworld and is gonna die, thus the ember months. And this is why the Scorpio and the eagle represent the dying sun. And the cherub of the Bible, or the caribou, or the shedu, are not the cute little babies that we see in Greek and Roman art. They are actually the cherub, which were the 4 animals in one, which were the lion, which was the animal's body, the bull horns and the bull hooves, or the feet, the soul, and the wings of the eagle, and of course the head of the human, which is nothing more than the symbol of the zodiac, the symbol of the 4 cardinal direction, or the animals of the 4 houses of the crossed zodiac. And like I said before, the cross is the symbol of God, which is Saturn L,
The sole of their
the
feet
god
was
of
like
the
the sole of
Bible.
the foot of a calf.
And the sole of their feet was like the sole of the foot, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of the foot of a calf.
And notice they tell you the soul of the creature, or the angel, the Angavel, is that of the calf, which is the bull god of the Bible, which is God. So of course the angel has the soul of a calf. I mean, why do you think all angels are related to the days of the week, the 7 days of the week? Because it represents the 7 planets, or the 7 Elohim, the 7 gods. And this is exactly why the angels have the word El in it. And of course the word angel in Paleo-Hebrew has the pictograph of the bull, as well as the walking cane, or the bull penis of El. And the Hebrew letter for K, or the Kaf, is the El even, the 11th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. So an angel is simply a messenger of God, the bull god El, which is the Angus bull. And this is why we have a male man, or the Malach, the Hebrew Ma'el, and the Ankh, or the Ang of the bull. So now you see why this theology comes from the fire fertility of the Torah, the torch of the fire Toro bull, which is the Taurus bull, which, like I said before, is why we have the Tanakh, which is the Ankh of the bull. So we see the Ankh, or the Ang of El, in the word angel as well as messenger, and as well as the Hebrew word malach. So now I will prove this even further and explain to you why an angel, or an ang of El, is a messenger of God. Which brings us to the astronomical astronomy, or the astronomer, or the astrologist, which is actually astrotheology, which is the study of the stars or the heavens, which of course is the zodiac, the astrological houses that are owned by the Saturn god El. Which is why we have the Elohim, which are the gods, which actually are the planets. So when we want to know something about our life, like in romance or finance, what do? We go to a fortune teller, like the fortune teller here in Wizard of Oz, the Marvel. Which is why we are marveled by the magic, or we are astonished. And the word astonish comes from the word star, the Aster, or the Astaroth, the Ishtar, Ashtarte. So when we want to get a message, we go to an astrologist, one who studies the planets and the stars. And the word angle comes from the astrologist, who gives you an angle or a message from the gods, which are the planets. And depending where the planets are, they give you the message or the angle, which different angles will give you a different message. So the angel, who is simply a messenger of God, is really an angle, which gives the message from the gods, the planets. And why do you think we have the fallen angels, which are mentioned in the Bible? We have the 1/3 of the fallen, or the Nephilim, the fallen ones, who fall from grace, or who fall from heaven. So in the real world, there are no fallen angels. There are, however, what's known as a fallen angle. So you see, the 12 houses of the zodiac have 3 sections within inside of each house. So actually there are 36 sections in all, exactly like a roulette wheel. You see, the sun is known as Bel, which is the white light, the meaning behind the white ball, or the sun that is spun around and around and around the universe, or the astrological houses of the zodiac, which is the true meaning behind the roulette wheel. So like I said, in the real world there are no fallen angels. There are only a fallen angle, which comes from the astrological chart. You see, the last 1/3 of each house is known as a fallen angle. So when we look at the 12 houses, or the 36 quadrants, we realize that 1/3 of them have fallen, or are known as fallen angles, or fallen angels. So we see that the Bible is nothing more than the seasonal, or the annual story of the annual wheel, or the annual time it takes for the sun, or should I say the earth, to revolve around the sun. So this is why we're talking about the degrees, or the angles, because we are talking about the specific times and events during the cycle of the wheel, or the annual year. I mean, how do you think we describe the zodiac wheel to somebody? Well, we tell them that there are animal houses, which is why we call it the zodiac, and there are 360 degrees, or 36 quadrants, and there are 12 houses, and each one is 30 degrees. This is exactly why we find that Jesus is born in a stable or a manger, and then at 12 years old, he goes to the feast. And then the other time or age that we know about is when Jesus is 30, which is the 30 degrees. So when we're telling somebody about the zodiac, we tell them there are 12 houses with 30 degrees each, which is why the two main numbers of Jesus is 12 and 30. And this is why in Revelation 21:12 we read about the 12 gates and the 12 angels and the 12 tribes of Israel. And the reference to the 12 moons of the year or the zodiac is exactly why the Jewish high priest wears the template of the 12 sacred gems of the breastplate. And of course the angels have the wings or the symbol of the bull god Saturnel, which is the symbol for air, exactly like Enlil or El. So the father god Cronus or Saturn-El, the harvest, corn, golden fertility god, is known as the golden one who makes the ring or the golden ring and the golden crown. And this is exactly why all angels have the halo of the golden ring or the golden crown. Which is why when you complete the 12 or when you graduate, you also wear the golden ring, which is just the golden ring of God's Son, making the cycle or the recycle of the annual year, the Ouroboros, the sacred circle of the goddess, which is why it's related to the goddess and the whole of the whore. Which is why the horny horns of the circle of the whore is the same circle of the Horus or the sun. So this is why we see the bull god Dionysus leading what are known as the Horai or the Hora, which is the seasonal witches or the goddesses of time. And a new day really begins when the sun Ra rises on the horizon, which is the Horus Ra eyes, which is why we have what is known as the Hora dance or the circle dance, which is a dance for completion of the cycle, like in 1 year, which is why they do the Hora dance on a birthday. So you see the word whore or Horus or the Hora is a word that is the meaning behind our word hour. And of course in ancient times the sun god rode the horse or a chariot across the sky, which is why the horse is related also to the Hora or the Horus. And that's why the word clock comes from the word Baal. And the horse also gives us our word unicorn, which of course comes from the corn fertility of the corn god. And of course the horny horn of the corn is why we are born. So the sun is the Horus that revolves and circles the zodiac, which is why we have the horoscope. And of course the Hora is also the meaning behind evilness of horror, which is why it's evil to be a whore, which of course is the horror of the bull or horrible. And of course the whore of the bull is why a female uses a vibrator or a dildo, which of course is the vibration of the bull, the vibrator, the Taurus bull, and that's why it stimulates the clitoris. And by the way, the horse that comes from the bull is also known as a colobus, as in the Kabbalah, which is why in the Clash of the Titans, the evil horned one is known as Calibus, or the Kali Bos, which is the bull. And of course, the horse can also be found in the zodiac, which is known as the house of the Sagittarius, or the centaur. Half human, half horse. I mean, where do you think we get the word nightmare from? It's a horrible dream, or a bad nightmare, which of course comes from the white mare, which is the white horse.